Hi everybody, welcome to Healing with Marcus, episode number 6 of Breaking Free from the Matrix. We are going to be discussing the ascension of humankind. So, what is happening when we're in the Matrix? Right? First, we're going to see what happens when we're in this box of the Matrix, which is agreements that we have gone into, either consciously or unconsciously, as we're growing up. These are agreements of, even in school, right? When we're starting in school, we are being told that we're not good enough unless we get good grades. Unless you have good grades, you're not a good enough human. Unless you are on time for different things, you're not a good enough human. If you are not living up to other people's expectations, your parents, your family around you, you are not a good enough human being. And what the subconscious message becomes is that if you're not doing what everybody else does or tells you to do, you are not a good enough human being. You're not good enough to make as much money as everybody else. You're not good enough to sit at the table. To sit at the table. So, in that sense, the Matrix has created this pressure of fear. And if you don't do what we're supposed to do, we are outcasts. And the problem with it is that when you're in the Matrix, you are still agreeing to fear. You're still agreeing to, okay, but if I don't do this, I'm not going to get enough money to pay for that. This is a whole system of fear we have agreed to. We have gone into. And some of us are very conscious about it. Some of us have gone into it very unconsciously. But nevertheless, pretty much all of us are stuck in one way or another in the system of the Matrix. The system of the Matrix is, of course, very, very complex. It's not just money. It's not just self-worth. It's about finding love. It's about finding the right partner. It's all of these agreements that we have entered into. In the Toltec wisdom, which is the 4 agreements, which is Don Miguel Ruiz, it's old Mexican, and that area, it's that area of indigenous shamanic wisdom, traditions. They're talking about the parasite. The parasite that has grown into our mind, our energy field. And it is a parasite based in fear. We're going to talk about that more later in another video. But right now, we're going to discuss it and call it the parasite. And the parasite has entered into our mindset, our frame of mind, as you're not good enough unless you follow suit, unless you conform. And the reality of our nature is very different from that, right? Reality of nature is not at all like that. Conformity only works at certain parts, at certain times. But conformity almost never truly ensures survival. Yes. It just looks like it from inside the Matrix. So when it's conscious, just like 2 people who marry, they're marrying consciously, hopefully. And if they enter into this marriage consciously, knowing that they're marrying their best friend, marrying their best person, marrying who they love the most, and both of them are committed to want to keep going, doing this, then there's a conscious agreement. If we're coming at it from fear, I'm not going to be okay on my own. I'm not going to be okay without this person. I'm not going to be, alive. I'm not going to be able to survive on my own. Then we're basing that in fear, and that agreement usually comes from the Matrix. And usually we are then entering into these agreements with very unhealthy foundation. So when we come back into the ascension of humankind, if we can look at what the Matrix, which is what I call our society, but the Matrix of our society, what frequencies are active in it? What frequencies do we live by? What is the most people's internal state? What is it? And when we look at what our highest, most intelligent minds have been creating over the last few hundred years, is on one level beautiful scientific accomplishments. But on another level, what are we using those accomplishments for? Are we using our faculties to the highest frequency possible, to the highest vibration, to the most positive outcome for everyone involved? Or are we using them based in fear to create more destruction, to show off, to show other countries that we are stronger, better, more dangerous than they are? Because that to me sounds a lot like bullies. And we know that bullies are always running on fear. So if we look at how the matrix, the system that we are living in, is when we have used our best resources and our best scientific minds to create the atomic bomb, to create bombs that we could blow up, enough bombs so we could blow up the world about, I don't know if I think it's 300, 400, 500 times or more, maybe a few thousand times. If we were to go into an all-out war where everything was used, we'd be annihilating all of the planet. Is that really healthy? Is that really what humankind is able to accomplish from inside the matrix? That's all we have been able to do, right? So then the ascension would mean, we could maybe use these resources differently. Maybe we could start dispersing our resources a little more equally across the planet. Maybe we could all help each other vibrate higher, do better. Maybe we could all start lifting the whole web of consciousness, of awareness, so that we can kind of clearly see that inventing and investing all that money and energy into creating more and more weapons, that's not going to help anyone. That's not how we're building a stable, solid, healthy world for anybody. The only thing we're doing is creating more destruction. Live by the sword, die by the sword. A violent man will die a violent death. These are old sayings that are very, very powerful. So if we can see, first we want to see that clearly, and then we want to see that the ascension process happens when both you and I come back home into ourselves. We start to see, I can feel better. I can feel different. I don't have to agree that I'm a loser if this happens, that I'm a bad person if that happens. I don't have to agree that whatever it might be, finding the soulmate is the most important thing in the world, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's more important that you find your way back home so that you can feel whole in yourself. So we're not dependent on other people for our well-being. And that's on an energetic level. Of course, we can always be happy with people around us. There's nothing wrong with community. But we still don't want to give up our integrity, our sovereignty for community. Yes? So it's a beautiful process of coming back home, realizing our own inner potential, realizing our own inner strength, starting to grow roots into Earth Mother, grow in our spiritual healing, so that we then start to ascend. And as you and I ascend, we actually are starting to affect the whole field. And over time, the more people are ascending, the more the matrix will be crumbling, and we will all be ascending together. It's like the transformation is happening from within. It's a little bit like if you look at one of my favorite movies is, of course, The Matrix, the movie. And at the end of the first movie, Neo he jumps into Agent Smith, and then he becomes Agent Smith. Then from the inside, Neo emerges from inside of Agent Smith. In a way, we can look at that as if you and I start growing consciously in awareness and understanding, growing and getting stronger in our inner standing, our inner framework, So we can recognize when new propaganda comes our way, new brainwashing, new powers of the matrix are coming our way, we can recognize it. And as we stay stable, we stay solid in our inner strength, our inner heart, in our love. In our love, we stay solid, we start to melt the matrix from the inside. We start to melt people's hearts from the inside. Because the matrix is built up in fear. It's built up on fear and some very unpleasant values. A value system that only behooves mind, energy, logic, which is of course not true nature, right? Nature is different. Nature is life. Nature is life force energy, growing, expanding, expressing, creating. Not in the box. This is how we are going to help to break the matrix and break through the matrix, break free from the matrix. But as we're doing that, the matrix starts to crumble. And over time, there'll be a transmutation, a transformation of society as more and more of us are waking up, more and more of us are getting stronger in our inner conviction. We're melting it from the inside. And I believe it's a beautiful process. It's a lot like you had an iceberg or a big chunk of ice and you put something warm inside of it, it's going to be melting that ice from the inside out, heating it up.